Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking into our latest Trade to Black podcast. Interesting conversation that we have on deck here today. We want to talk about the industry of cannabinoids and how this has become a niche market now into a macro trend and why it's a major focal point for a lot of MSO companies. A lot of these brands really resonating with a lot of consumers, more so, some would say, even than flower. So with that, let's welcome in AV here on our latest Trade to Black. Good to see you. How are things?
Good. I'm actually excited to get into this conversation. I mean, minor cannabinoids have been a big part of the trends that we've been seeing this year. I've been buying more products, to be honest, that are aligned with this trend. So, I mean, it's a timely and should be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I definitely know it's something that you know a lot about, which is why I wanted to have you on this time, because we're going to welcome him back into our podcast, Jerry Griffin. He is the VP of Sales and Marketing from BayMedica, which is a leading supplier of the cannabinoid ingredients for the overall industry. Good to see you again. How are things?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. You still out in California, enjoying life out there?
Yeah, San Diego, man. 60 degrees and sunny. Freezing my butt off out here.
San Diego, you're lucky. That's
Yeah.
the best. That's the best.
What's it
It is the
rain?
best.
Maybe 5 days a year there?
I don't know, man. It's been like one this year, but we'll take all the rain we can get.
Crazy what happened about 90 minutes north of you guys up, and it gets about that far in LA.
Oh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Do you have any friends affected at all that were involved in that?
No, unfortunately, no. But I'm sure I'm 1 degree of separation from somebody. But just last week, I could see out my window like the top of a mountain on fire that was probably 15 miles away. So it's everywhere in Southern California. It's brutal.
Wow. Well, I did hear they got rain recently this past week with one of our other clients based in LA. So that's welcoming news, I would say. But in addition to you, let's welcome in James Stevens. He's the co-founder of a beverage company based out of Montana called Sinful Beverages. First time to the podcast. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. How's Montana? Are we educating some of those policymakers on how cannabis is today and should be and moving forward?
We're trying. We're in the middle of our legislature session that goes every 2 years. So, we get a year reprieve every year, but, it's like everywhere. There's always these changes and things that have to happen. But, Montana has this very interesting and thriving non-MSO dominated cannabis market. So it's always an interesting adventure here.
Always love hearing stories like that and learning. But listen, as I said off the top, this industry, cannabinoids, has become a macro trend for a lot of companies. And Jerry, I want to begin with you. Like, we're seeing edible brands like Wylde and Grön, and they're really resonating with consumers. And I think these brands are sticking a lot with consumers, more so, some might say, than, say, flower. You've helped, like BayMedica. It's a subsidiary of InMed Pharmaceuticals, which trades on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol INM. What would you say is the result? Why is this industry becoming such a macro trend for a lot of companies and part of their strategies moving forward?
Yeah, look, I mean, a lot of reasons, right? There's a lot of products out there that are very similar to one another, right? Flower, differentiate by strain names, right? You've got edibles that, until recently, they were mostly just like, dumb distillate products that, your 5 milligram THC product with somebody else's 5 milligram THC product, maybe differentiated on branding or taste or whatever the case may be. Now you can like properly segment, who you're targeting, right? You can target specific use cases. You can target specific effects, right? So all that's really valuable if you're a brand. You can just really kind of just get your arms around exactly who you're going after and why, and really like dial it in and really get efficient on your marketing strategy, right? Your customer acquisition costs get more streamlined, all of it. So, I think the brands are starting to recognize that. And then, of course, you've got the consumers that, it's taken a while for them to get up the curve on the education around these cannabinoids, but now they know, and now they're looking for them, right? And they want what's for me, right? What does my endocannabinoid system say that I need, right? What maladies do I have, right? Where am I deficient in my performance every day, and how cannabinoids can help me?
Makes sense. Anthony, do you want to fire away?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, in terms of the trends that you're seeing, we talk a lot about CBN, CBC, CBG, THCV. What are you seeing? Like, what are customers gravitating towards, and what is truly like a trend within the products and the formulations?
Yeah, good timing on the question. So, right now we're in the middle of building our 2024 market report. So last year's report examined data for 2023, right? And it focused on edibles entirely. But this one takes a little broader view of other categories. And, the reason being is that, as expected, this macro trend, or really sea change is probably a better term for it, where these functional and effects-based products that are modulated by various cannabinoids are being adopted en masse. And it's starting to jump categories. You once only saw it in edibles, but now you're starting to see strong upticks in vapes and even flower. Just to give you a taste of some of that data, if you look at just gummies, which is, the most common edible, and it's hero cannabinoid and the formulation is THC or CBC, which we at BayMedica produce, sales of those SKUs have doubled in a year.
Okay.
Wow.
If you look at vapes, smaller sample size, but same thing, sales have doubled. So obviously there's something meaningful happening there, and it's all in line with what we're seeing in terms of our own experience, our own sales, our own sales volumes and what have you. Our unit sales, when you compare like Q3 2023 to Q3 2024, those volumes have doubled. We sell by the kilo, but like those volumes have doubled in those periods of time that we've looked at.
James, want to bring you into the conversation. We all know Americans love their beverages, and you're the co-founder of Sinful Beverages, which is really trailblazed in the cannabinoid beverage industry. Before you actually started this company, you used to work with big brands like Kraft, Heinz, Dunkin' Donuts. In addition to what Jerry's saying, and we're seeing the growth, do you envision like a lot of these big brands, is it becoming more and more of a focal point, be part of their product format?
So when you look at all the kind of different brands, product focal points, really the ones who can market towards a future state and do future state marketing on the effect your product's going to lead to X win. And
Yep.
these minor cannabinoids are an easy way to do it, right? When we talk about them, a lot of these have functional direction towards someone's future point. For us, we've increased sales 40% in the last year. 50% of that sales increase just in Montana was because of sleep focused products, right? So this whole direction towards that future state and creating a product that people can use as like a nightcap and deliver that worked. And, every major brand, food, cosmetic, whatever, is kind of moving towards these future state things. And cannabinoids can be a part of that solution, as the regulatory climate improves.
Yeah, we've been
And
there.
then turning to supply chain. I mean, that's a focal point of some of the conversation that we're having. I mean, why is it so important when adopting rare cannabinoids? And as a brand, what do you need to consider when navigating, let's say, an unstable supply chain, or how do you ensure that you're going to be able to get access to the cannabinoids that you need to meet the demand that you're alluding to?
Yeah, so on the brand side, there's two major things that are really important. One is the kind of the access to supply. Someone can create enough of the product that you need to actually risk your brand reputation on utilizing that ingredient, right? When we're talking about utilizing minor cannabinoids as a hero ingredient in the process, you have to have access to it. But then the other one is you need stability. And so like for me, we formulate beverages, we do a lot of stuff like that. A lot of the trace materials that are present in a lot of these materials as they're manufactured have flavor and taste profiles. Cannabinoids are traditionally bitter. The side products are bitter. Bitter blocking is difficult. And if your input is varying in these products and not stable all the time, you have to reformulate every time. So a stable supply chain partner is absolutely vital to get a nationwide brand going.
Yeah. It's been 7 months since we had you on, Jerry. And I know I asked you this last time about certain brands still sitting on the sidelines who may be hesitant, I guess, to jump in on this industry for a variety of reasons. How much has changed, do you think, during that timeline, the last 7 months? And what would you say to them for companies that are still kind of on the sidelines and still not undecided about whether or not they make like I said, a strategy towards a lot of this?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'd say is that, we've got data sets now from 2023 and 2024, right? And the growth is there, right? The number of brands adopting this is going up significantly, right? They're showing where they not only can charge a higher price point for those products, but they can also clear a larger margin, right? And we're still, again, crunching the data on 2024, but I expect to see that in 2023 in the 2024 data. In fact, I think it'll be significantly better because, these kind of first movers have, dialed their supply chains, right? Cannabinoids have gotten less expensive, right? They've gotten their distribution worked out, right? They've dialed in their demand planning, right? All of it. They've got velocity, right? So all of those things have kind of paved the way for these kind of fast followers. And so I'd just say, look, it's not a fad. It's not too late.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get some cannabinoid emulsions, liquid emulsions, and start testing your ratios. It won't take you long, but you got to get focused right now and get started. And if you need referrals for, water soluble converters, you just email me at Jerry Griffin or jgriffin@baymedica.com. But yeah, it's not going anywhere. To see change, then there's plenty of money that's still able to be made.
I have a bit of advice in this space too, is, the second movers like Apple are the ones who generally win, right? So a lot of these guys who've trailblazed, if you have technical competency and you can do something better, you can make it taste better, you can market better, you have something unique that drives your brand, now is actually the time to jump in on this stuff, because the other guys have proven there's a market. Now it's your job to take it away from them.
So what do you think? Go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
I was going to say, Jared, the first time that we spoke, I know that you had mentioned that you believe that there'll be a cannabinoid in every medicine cabinet, let's say in America. Is the adoption of minor cannabinoids and these products becoming more functional by definition, is that enhancing that notion that you believe we'll start to see, let's say, mass adoption and it get to that point where there are cannabinoids in every medicine cabinet in America?
Yeah, look, I mean, if you want to focus in on specifically on like nutraceuticals or VMS, the VMS market or however you want to, call that, right? Absolutely, right? Functional products driven by these kind of value add ingredients, right? That help people optimize their body, right? We're seeing that really take shape in regulated cannabis and beyond, and it already kind of has, but like not in a meaningful way, step into like the mainstream market. Honestly though, if you look beyond like that, like nutraceuticals or VMS or whatever you want to call it, there's nothing that goes on with CBC and THCV and other cannabinoids that we make that I don't hear about. So right now, CBC is being named in some large scale antibacterial applications. Think like medical settings. I know people who consume CBC every day. For a number of things that they deal with in lieu of pharmaceuticals that they've been prescribed. There's pharma programs around all manner of rare cannabinoids, minor cannabinoids, right? Applications around wound care being looked at. And then, of course, right now we all have edibles in our medicine cabinets, right? Or in our purse, and we've got beverages in our fridge. And it won't be long before you start seeing them in personal care products like your toothpaste, right? And skin conditioning products or whatever the case may be. Just those markets need more regulatory clarity and, eventually it'll come.
And just so everybody's on the same page from a viewer perspective, when you're talking about these applications, you're not implying that there's also THC inherent in those products as well. These are the minor cannabinoids acting alone.
Yep, acting alone, right? Or in formulation with like non-THC other cannabinoids or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think if anyone, like a lot of investors that follow this space too, they want to see where there's going to be revenue growth opportunities. We're seeing more and more of a common trend where revenue seems to be flat with a lot of publicly traded companies over the last quarter or two. And that's just been given the fact that we're at a standstill with how many markets are going online. It would have been nice, obviously, to have Amendment 3 pass in Florida back on election night, but it's 3 months that hasn't passed. So we're here now. But when you look like James, you've had some great success, 40% increase. How much does this beverage industry grow over these next, couple of years? We've talked a lot about this sort of side of the industry, a lot, Anthony and I, over the last couple of months.
Yeah, we kind of have a unique thing in Montana. We're about 3% of all cannabis sales with our beverage product alone for the whole state. And so that actually surprises people because in most states, beverages aren't that high, but a lot of it is this focus on minor cannabinoids, functional formulations, the taste experience, focusing on the right segments, right? Where we know we generally do high potency products that, affect core users who are generally repeat buyers. And so like when you can market segment this out and look at these different things, there is a ground. Beverages are easily adoptable. And so if you're looking for a quick, easy way to test a market segment, find a market like Montana, find some partners, drop something to be able to test something like that. And beverages are super approachable. And that's the thing that we've seen a lot of conversion into the cannabis space for just in general is people are like, oh, I don't want to drink anymore. We hear stories every day like this. They don't want to drink alcohol anymore. Gen Z doesn't like alcohol. It looks like they might fill bars by themselves, right? It's this fascinating approach, but they'll drink a cannabis beverage. And so with that, there's this kind of interesting shift in dynamics and shift in direction. And, making approachable products is probably one of the ways to do it. And then focusing on this future state, right? Are you solving the problem they have? Is it something with agitation or unwinding or sleep or whatever? Keeping that focus in mind and doing that really kind of with an approachable product really makes it work well for growth.
I think that's the key word that we don't use a lot in this industry is approachable. We need to make the products approachable, especially for mass market consumers that are going to find them in outside of the dispensary. I think approachability is paramount. I mean, you couldn't have said that better.
The first time I ever saw someone do a dab, I was like, "What is going on?"
I'm with you on that. I was like, what the hell is this isn't where I park my car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How well? Broad question, I guess, for both of you. But for people that are still learning, I guess this side of the business, of the industry, the overall cannabis industry, what's the message, I guess, that you want to get through to various companies, various people, various investors that they may not be aware of on where this industry is growing? I know I brought that up off the top, but what's, I guess, the lasting message that you'd want to leave, Jerry, on where you see this going over these next 12 to 24 months?
I mean, I think what we just hit on was exactly it, right? More approachable products, right? I think we need to stop focusing on high dose, right? I think we need to start producing form factors that are more approachable. We think we need to start, providing, using cannabinoids to present health and wellness products that are outside of like recreational. I think we need to refocus back in on medical, right? Medical kind of got, pushed out with every new adult use market, right? And there's so much value on the medical side. It's just a function of trying to figure out how to turn it into a business properly. So, but again, approachability, first and foremost on the adult use side, and then, really focusing more in on the health and wellness aspects and really the medical aspects as well.
Yeah. When you bring it, sorry, go ahead, James, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, in addition to approachability, a lot of it is about consumer listening, but then also seeing what they actually do. So the best example I've ever heard is, Sony launched Walkmans, right? And we've done stuff like this. And they were in all these different colors. And they gave everyone a free Walkman at the end of the whole event, right? And what color did everyone pick? Black. No one picked bright yellow. No one picked pink. So not only do you have to listen to consumers, you actually have to see the behavior they're going to go. This is Jerry and I have always had this argument. Our sales are high dose. So I know everybody wants to chase this mythical low dose market. High dose drives the revenue, man.
So you are correct. And I'm not going to name names, but I've talked to brands. One of their best sellers in Missouri is a 10-pack of 100 milligram edibles. Wow. I know guys with beverage brands that's their best seller is the 50 milligram can. Meanwhile, everybody's talking about 2s, 5s, and 10s.
That's their customer base. I get it, right? You farm your base, right? You want to make sure that revenue doesn't go away. But you also got to bring in new people, right? Or bring people that stepped out and want to get back involved, but like they don't want to smoke that.
I'm with you completely, because I am of the school of thought that if you give someone that's a first time user, God forbid they get their hands on a 50 milligram can beverage, they're probably never coming back. They're going to be in a world of hurt.
And that's what it's all about, is expanding into new audiences, because obviously the people that want the 1500, they're going to be there regardless of what. But
my mom will drink 5 milligram beverages. Yeah. No problem. She would never have done it beforehand, and she's scared as hell to go in a dispensary.
Yeah.
They have to make approachable, dosable, sessionable products. And then you get those consumers from mass market that come in.
Well, I'd be curious to see, because we've talked a lot about this on our live stream, reform and rescheduling, and how, people will start to look at this in a different light. And you brought up some interesting industries, Jerry, just as far as overall lifestyle. But have you thought about how this industry evolves even more if there's a rescheduling ruling, or does that really have much of an impact on it?
For us, we don't see it impacting us directly. We see it impacting us indirectly. And I say that cautiously because we have seen some of this like draft language that was tied to rescheduling that wasn't favorable, but put that aside, right? We think that certainly our customer base will be more invigorated, right? I mean, 280E goes away. That's a big deal, right? So, more cash flow, more room for R&D, more room for write-offs available for doing certain things that they couldn't do in the past, like all of it. So I think it indirectly helps us more than anything. With, kind of put over here, like with the potential to, impact us, hopefully favorably, but possibly negatively.
I think in the U.S., from a brand perspective, rescheduling is a first step, but I think really for strong nationwide, distribution, we need a full descheduling. So, and at the very least, I'm always a proponent of this, throw it under TTB and treat it like tobacco and alcohol. In the United States, there's a regulatory framework that could work. They could handle it. They already handle this kind of stuff anyways. There's all these things. So I think you need it to be a little more mass retail than just a pharmaceutical setting for a lot of these products to really work in the United States. And that would be my one caution on, Schedule 3 is the first step. It needs to continue down some other
course.
regulatory framework.
Yeah.
Totally
That's
agree.
another thing. We need to have you back on, James, because that's another thing we don't talk about enough. The framework is there to regulate cannabinoids in the United States. It's
Right?
literally there.
I've
Yeah.
worked with TTB. There's the framework. We could
Yeah.
just throw it under TTB and treat it like alcohol, and you'd have room for high dose and low dose and all of the stuff, and it would work just fine in the United States.
And we'd all be off for the better. And we
Yeah.
wouldn't even be having these conversations. We'd be focusing on selling product
You know,
and innovating the industry.
and they handle smokables, and they handle things like dip pouches. Like
They-
TTB knows how to handle every form factor that cannabis does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
You two connect, that's for sure. But you know, if you were to get a descheduling at some point, you know, fingers crossed, we realize that's years down the road from now. But what are some major consumer trends that you think minor cannabinoids would basically, you know, change, I guess, in a big way overnight, if that were to happen, James?
Coffee. So when
Yeah.
you look at components like THCV at low dose, when they are used at a lower dose, they have generally an energizing effect. They can compete with things like GLP-1 agonists. You have all sorts of stuff where your daily routine could radically change in America, where you're using something like THCV, not only to suppress appetite and kind of be healthier, as opposed to this, you could actually replace things like your coffee routine. And so there's an entire possibility for the entire ritual of how America acts to completely change with cannabinoids with descheduling.
Yeah.
Nothing to add.
Ozempic, that seems to be a hot topic in the last couple of months. But
I mean, you saw that the Danish are going to start slapping tariffs on Ozempic apparently coming into the U.S. So people might be looking for an out on Ozempic here shortly.
We are already getting approached with people who, based on they don't necessarily want to do injections or whatever, you know, when they Google what are their options and THCV pops up and they're like, well, can you make a product for this and actually have it go that way and, you know, fit into these other wellness and, you know, health categories.
Yeah. Gents, this has been
Wellness.
good.
Cannabis is wellness.
Cannabis is
At the end of
wellness.
the day.
Indeed.
This has been good. Jerry, always a pleasure to obviously connect with you. BayMedica, subsidiary of InMed Pharmaceuticals. And you basically are providing the ingredients for a lot of the cannabinoids across the industry in the U.S. And then as well, James, great success, obviously, with Sinful Beverages. Best of luck in the state of Montana. And gents, onwards and upwards for this overall cannabis space. But let's hope we get some cannabis reform movement. But more importantly, it's awesome to see as revenue stays flat for some of these companies. We're seeing a huge emergence in how cannabinoids are becoming such a macro trend in the overall evolution of the industry. So always good to catch up. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Take care.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our latest podcast. What'd you all think? Is there any information that we're missing? Is there anything you want us to cover? As these industries heat up, we're getting access to more and more big hosts. So let us know the questions that you want us to ask for you. As usual, smash that like button. We want this to go viral. Click on that bell for all notifications for the latest interviews that we're doing. And as usual, let's build this community. Subscribe to our channel because we appreciate it, because we wouldn't be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.